Of all the places that you've investigated, where were you the most scared at?
That would be Hinsdale.
Hinsdale.
That would totally be Hinsdale.
I would walk inside and be like, oh my God, here we go.
Actually, my most terrifying experience happened at Hinsdale. My very first time I was there, I slept in Mary's room because I was there for 3 days, 2 nights. And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but for those of you who do not know, I believe Mary's room is the one like where all the flies are dead, and that's the most, the epicenter of the haunting is in Mary's room. So you actually slept there.
I actually slept, well, because everybody was like, you know, divvying up, and like the group that I was with.
Hello everyone, and my name is Misti Gaither, and welcome to Quest, a journey into true crime and the paranormal. I am here with Paranormal Trippin with Brie, and also remotely paranormal with Brie. I am here with Brie. How about that? How you doing? It is Brie Hollingshead, and she is here. And you know what? You are just everywhere. You're here, you're there. You were just at Hinsdale, the Wildwood Sanitarium. I mean, I want to go back to where like all this started for you.
I went through a divorce last year, and my two older boys, they're 20, and then the other one will be 19 actually this August. They sat me down and they were like, Mom, you raised us on the paranormal. Why don't you go and like, you know, start doing events, start going to these paracons? Because I mean, I raised them on like all the OG shows, you know, like Ghost Hunters,
right,
Haunted Collector. You know, Paranormal State was probably like my absolute favorite out of all of them, in all honesty. You know, we've dealt with the paranormal a lot through like the different locations that we had lived, and so they weren't a stranger to it. They were like, go and start doing. And so I did, and I was actually on my way to an event in July. So coming up on a year. On the way, I decided to like make stops along the way there and on the way back, just highlighting, you know, historically haunted locations. And I posted it to Twitter, and Twitter just ate it up. And they were like, I was getting so many messages. People were asking if I was going to continue to do it. So I just kept doing it.
So the Hinsdale House, let's talk about that just for a moment. You were just in there like just recently, like what, a few weeks ago?
Well, I spent all of last week at Wildwood helping with restorations and renovations going on. The last time I was at Hinsdale was actually in January.
Okay.
But I was at Hinsdale four times actually, from the end of October until like end of January. Wow. So I went there 4 times, and actually my most terrifying experience happened at Hinsdale. My very first time I was there, I slept in Mary's room because I was there for 3 days, 2 nights. And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but for those of you who do not know, I believe Mary's room is the one like where all the flies are dead, and that's the most, the epicenter of the haunting is in Mary's room. So you actually slept there?
Yeah, I actually slept. Well, because everybody was like, you know, divvying up, and like the group that I was with, the paranormal team, it was a husband and wife team, and then 2 guys that were separate. So the husband and wife team, they took Clara's bed, because that's the biggest bed in the house. And then one of the guys took a bed in Mikey's room, which is when you come into the home, it's the bedroom directly right off of the kitchen to the right. And then the other guy, Jeremy, was like, well, I don't want to sleep in any of the rooms. Like, I'm just going to sleep on the couch in the living room. And then we had 2 girls join us from Canada, and they threw up a cot, like in what used to be like Beth's room, where like the haunted dolls are, right in the living room. Mm-hmm. And then my great friend, who's like brother or dad, however you want to look at him, Nick's actually like joking around, like referred to him as my grandpa. So Jeff Bent, who makes the geo boxes, he ended up showing up on Saturday, and he slept on one of the other couches in the living room.
George,
so
the guy that does the geo boxes was there too, you just said? Or?
Yeah, Jeff Bent. Wow. Yeah,
cool.
So yeah, we're like,
nice.
Yeah, he's like my big brother. I absolutely adore him. He came out to, you know, see how things are going and hang out with all of us too. And so it left Laura's room and Mary's room. And Laura's room, I'm a klutz. I trip on flat surfaces. I choke on air. So I was like, there's no way I'm staying in Laura's room, because when you go up the stairs, like if you go to directly to the right, that's Laura's room. But like you got to like step up into the room, like off the stairs. Like it's not a flat surface walking into it. It's the same way with Clara's room. But I was like, I would have a better chance with Mary's room, for one, because, you know, you got to walk completely on a flat surface to get to the stairs. But Laura's, if I had to get in the middle of the night, I was like, I'm gonna like break my neck. There's no way. But I mean, I could have slept like on the love seat downstairs, But I really was thinking about it. I'm like, the best way to grow and like to push myself as a paranormal investigator is to go to like the workplace in the house, and that would
Yeah.
be Mary's room.
Yep.
And Mary's room's actually the room on a paranormal lockdown with Nick Groff,
Right.
where he had his big stuff happen.
I remember
So,
that. Yeah.
yeah. In Hinsdale, the flies are everywhere. Like, those things aren't just flies. Like, everybody's like, oh, they're just house flies. No, these things are like flying grapes.
Oh,
And they
wow.
turn into like kamikaze pilots. Like, like it's about to get real when these things start pelting you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they will just like smack you in the face, and like that it's like you can almost hear them like flying back up, like they're getting ready to, circle back around to come get you again. Like these things have no fear, and they hurt. They're fat. They're like probably like the size of like a dime.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's like
ridiculous.
Amityville horror on steroids or something then with the flies, huh?
Oh yeah. Like you always knew the activity, like where activity was going to be based on like what the flies, where they were at and what they were doing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they were like all throughout the house.
See, I thought that they were just central into Mary's room, but no, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Oh yeah.
Now,
oh yeah.
What was the very first place, like when you really got into this, and when like I really think that that's a cool story how your sons came to you and were like, why don't you go and do this, and and I think that's really cool how they wanted you, even, because they're grown and stuff practically now, like for you to go and find your happiness and do something that you enjoy. And so what was the very first place once that you decided this is what you were wanting to do, what was the very first place that you investigated? Was it Hinsdale or was it somewhere else?
I ended up being a brand ambassador with an event company, and they ended up discontinuing the brand ambassador position. So like I would go to like different locations with them and help with their events. So end of September was when I actually like started really doing my paranormal trip in Brie and like hitting the ground with what I do now. I did a 3-week trip out to the East Coast. And so Hinsdale is what I started that trip with. And then Wildwood was what I ended the trip with. Because I did a collab. Chris Smith from Hulu's Monster Inside had actually reached out to me and was like, I'm doing, this is what I've done. And, this show's getting ready to drop. And I think it'd be great to like do like a crossing of the horror and paranormal genres.
Right.
And so like before I went on my trip, I actually went up to Michigan. And I did some like haunts with them, not the extreme haunts like McCamey Manor that you hear about. And then when I was coming back from my trip, we actually did a second part collab there where he was remote and I was at Wildwood by myself. And for 2.5 hours, like he gave me 5 rooms, 5 different challenges. And then I spent the night there by myself. And that actually ended up being the birthplace of Remotely Paranormal that you see me doing now.
Now, that's a good story. I like that. We're doing a 3-day, 3-night lockdown in the Haunted Hotel here in New Orleans. We're hosting it, and it's where the Axeman of New Orleans allegedly stayed. So I'm kind of looking forward. Oh. Yeah. Do you ever come down this way, or are you more up north?
I've been more up north. I actually had a friend invite me to come to New Orleans, but both like trying to like get the scheduling just right has been a little difficult. So I'm hoping in the fall we're going to be able to make it line up to where we can come down. Because when Nick and I go, it'll probably be for like a full week, I imagine. Like we're not just going to go for like a little bit. We'll probably make a full run of it.
That'd be good. And don't forget us when you come down, be sure to let us know and we'll hang out and maybe show y'all some haunted places or whatever. Now, you also do a podcast with Nick. You belong to the Old Town Paranormal Society.
Nick founded the Olde World Paranormal Society in 2017. And then a few years ago started the Olde World Paranormal podcast that he does with Sean Coletta. But I do a lot of, I do the modding.
Okay.
For their YouTube channel because they just started going over to YouTube because it used to just be like on all the audibles, like SoundCloud and
Spotify.
There's so many out there.
Oh,
yeah, Spotify. I can't keep up with all of them. They just with the 100th episode decided to start streaming over to YouTube.
So where of all the places that you've investigated, where were you the most scared at?
That would be Hinsdale.
Hinsdale.
That would totally be Hinsdale.
I would walk inside and be like, oh my God, here we go. Here's the flies, Yeah.
Well, what was crazy is that, like, so I did the 3-day, 2-night in October, the end of October, going in like the kickoff for my 3-week trip. Went back to Hinsdale for New Year's Eve with Nick and somebody that we were working with at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then remotely paranormal in January, we actually did one event, 3 locations, 3 nights, all in a row.
That
and Hinsdale was where I started. And then I went to Paraniagara Western Block that you see on Deathwalker seasons 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then went into Wildwood. So being at Hinsdale by myself or remotely paranormal, like you get a whole different vibe when you're there by yourself. And then after I did the 3 nights of remotely paranormal, I ended up back at Hinsdale with 2 people to do a collab with them. So that was pretty interesting. It was like, by the time I hit that night, I was just like, I'm sleep deprived. This could either go really good or really bad.
I really admire like paranormal investigators who can sleep. Like if they're doing a lockdown or whatever, and and you see them and they have the speed it up or whatever, and they're just like so peaceful in the bed, and the stuff's happening around them, and sometimes they're just like knocked out, and I'm like, damn, that must be good, because whenever I go somewhere, I'm, one eye is open, trust. You never know. It's not that I'm scared. I just want to know what's going on. But like some
Right.
like just sleep so peacefully. I mean, they're just like sacked out, and the curtains are moving and then cracking noises and this and that, and they're fine. I'm just like,
oh, that's totally Nick. Like, we went to Bel Air. We did 3 days, 2 nights at Bel Air for Thanksgiving. And then right after, we went to OSR for a collab.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were at Bel Air, and it's the first night, and you go up the stairs, and if you go right down the hallway, the bedroom at the very end of the hallway was where we stayed. And we brought a REM pod up and sat it on the couch in there, and I'm sleeping in the bed against the wall, and then Nick's right next to me, and he's out like snoring.
Mm-hmm.
And that REM pod starts going absolutely crazy. And I'm watching the shadow just like circle the room. And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm awake for this. Like, I'm trying to wake him. I'm like, babe. And
right.
he's just like totally out.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, God bless people that can do that. I'm not one of them. I guess that you're not, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, and like on top of it, like I'm a psychic medium, so it's like they know I can see them and hear them. Like,
sure.
I'm a physical medium. They can get my attention through like all 5 senses, and they will do it to keep me awake. They don't like to let me sleep wherever I go.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like if I get a chance to sleep, it's very rare.
Yeah, and I have that same problem too, because I have to take stuff like, to fall asleep. If not, I'm up. They're all, I have to be knocked out or I'm, how they do.
Oh, yeah. They're like right in your face. They'll start pushing the bed or start tapping you.
Yes.
Shaking like, hey, I'm here. Talk to me. And you're like, what? Like, I love you. I want to talk to you, but not right now. Can we like schedule this for like 5 hours?
Yes. Can you schedule me during business hours? Right. When it's light outside, then we'll talk.
I've actually met a lot of people recently out of Canada that are doing like paranormal investigating. It seems like a lot of them come more down here into the States where it's a little bit more, I don't know if it's more acceptable or there's more locations available, but I've been coming across a lot of people in like the past year that have been coming down, and it's been really cool though, getting to meet people, from Canada and get to work with them. And it's so cool when you see the enthusiasm. And getting to talk to a few of them, they've said, where we're at, there's nothing around us, and we definitely have to come to the States because everything's more localized and you've got more going on.
So where do you see yourself doing or going, like kind of your bucket list for the future? Like, where are some places you're like, I'm going there, I don't care. This is what we're going to do.
Nick and I have a huge project that we've been working on. And so a lot of the things that we're doing with that project is like bucket list. And unfortunately, I can't mention a lot of that. But that's going to be huge. And like a lot of the stuff that we're doing with that is definite bucket list. I mean, I think like everybody wants to go to Trans-Allegheny. Everybody's like, Tala. They want to go to Tala. They want to do Waverly.
Have you been to Waverly?
No, I haven't.
That's where I want to go too. I mean, that is, oh my God. I wouldn't even know how to act because I mean you see so much about Waverly, and it's just so saturated and hauntings and the spirits and the nurses and just so much going on there.
Yeah. My kind of thought is that, like, this is where like the taxi cab theory comes into play with locations like that, because you have all these people that are coming in for like group tours or group investigations, or they're able to rent it out for a group. What are people bringing in and leaving behind?
Right.
So is it haunted because of what happened at Waverly, or is it haunted because of not just what happened at Waverly, but things that people have brought with them and they've decided to stay?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a huge like saturation with large locations like that. I want to go to like the smaller, lesser known places like the Rhodes Hotel, Ashmore Estates,
Right.
Ross House. I want to go back to Bel Air. I want to do the smaller places, and because what I love to do is highlight, and I want to help get their name out there, and because everybody knows these big locations. Everybody's got those on their bucket list. And
oh yeah.
I want to go to the smaller, lesser known ones and help get them a little bit more notoriety if I can, and spread the word on them.
Ashmore Estates, that's one I'm also familiar with, and that's definitely, they got a lot going on there too.
We're actually taking Remotely Paranormal there end of August going into September, because we're taking the next couple months off focusing on family. And then, of course, you got all the paracons that are popping up and
Right.
little projects that we have working on. We're the oddballs taking off a couple months in the summer when everybody else is busy. But it's going to be exciting when we finally get to going with everything again, because a lot more is going to be opened up, and a little bit of cold never really bothered us too much, though.
They should write a song like that. How I think it's really cool. You're saying that you are, y'all are taking time off because of family and all that, and that's really great because you have to find the balance. How do you do that?
That's I think the difficult part that I've had to swallow the pill on. And Nick's been hugely instrumental with helping me to understand that, because I was going hard every weekend, not taking time off and bouncing from place to place to place. And whether you realize it or not, it is physically draining. It's emotionally draining. It's mentally draining. It's spiritually draining. And you got to have that time for yourself. And then, that time for your family. And Nick and I, we do a lot together. A lot of people affectionately call us Team Brick. What's great is that I've got that balance with him. He helps balance me out and help me realize, like, okay, let's take a breather. And on top of that, with having my daughter who's 8, she's not, as much as I would like to get her involved in stuff, we're waiting on that and trying to keep it more family focused. And, if she eventually wants to get involved as she gets older, then that's on her, but we're not shoving it down her throat. That helps keep the balance in check as well.
I think that's a really wise thing to do, because you gotta have that balance, and it'll always be there. These people, these spirits have been here for hundreds of years or however long.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. And so I just really think that that's cool that you put family first and try to find the balance of both worlds. I think it's, like a two world thing, because, like you said, we have our, your family that on this side, and then we're also part of this kooky, weird, different, like maybe not everybody's cup of tea that we do, but we do it because we love and what we do, and we want to find answers and just the whole concept of it, and just to find the balance between the two is really remarkable.
With me, when I started doing this, it was to find myself and to figure out, what my passion was. And, I ended up with the hashtag Be Like Brie. And, I use that as a platform now to try to encourage people, regardless of what their passion is. It doesn't have to be paranormal. Whatever they're doing in life, pursue your passion. Don't wait to have the money, because guess what? There's always going to be bills popping up. There's always going to be something unexpected. It's kind of like having a baby. You're never really going to have all the funds that you want to have saved up, unfortunately. And when I look at it realistically, I lost my mom to cancer in 2005. Tomorrow's not promised. And I would rather go and do, and, do the things, see the places, drink the drinks, eat the food, make the memories now with my significant other, with my partner, than, sit here twiddling my thumbs and, grinding and, well, maybe one day, because that maybe one day might not come along. And
Right.
I really want to encourage people to pursue their passions, regardless of what venue those passions may be within.
Let me leave you with a quote that you did.
Okay.
All right. You're like, oh, wait. It said, there's a whole community of people getting to be a part of is what's been really meaningful to me.
Yeah.
So it's like everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that are involved, and, coming from the Christian faith background, very few people are accepting of, the weird things. And,
Sure.
Little known fact, well, I think now it's probably a widely known fact. I was a pastor's wife. I was a youth pastor at one point, and there's a lot of derogatory thoughts when it comes to the paranormal. And, if I can try to put truth out there, that's one thing I would like to do. But what's cool is that within our community, there's a lot of people that have gone through very similar experiences, and they don't understand, and they're trying to understand. And yeah, it's fun going to the Paracons, and you get to meet your TV celebrities,
Sure.
Your paracelebs, and you get to buy the really cool merch and the really cool, home decorations, and, all the crystals that, I'm still figuring out what all they mean, and I got them covered on my wrist and
Right.
making sure I'm wearing them on the right wrist, But there's like this huge community of people, and we all have these amazing different backgrounds. And when we're all able to come together and leave the drama at the door and focus on what we're all trying to figure out, and, because in honesty, we're all in this community, we're all going after hopefully the same goal. We're all just doing it differently. And that's what makes us unique, is that, we're all going to be doing it in a different way. And one thing that Nick and I are huge on right now is promoting positivity within the community, because of, unfortunately, a lot of drama has been happening in the past 6 months. And,
Sure. Yeah.
We're trying to uplift people and encourage people, just as much as you go into a location, you don't want that negative low level energy, because you're going to be drawing in that low level negative, whatever is there. You want to raise that vibration to a positive. You want to raise that positive vibration to draw in the positive, and it's not just doing that at a haunted location. If we're going to do it at a haunted location, we should do that in public and with, the people that we're around. And when you think about it, if you're raising positivity up, it's contagious. They always say, if you smile at somebody, that person could turn around and smile. And what if they turn around and smile to somebody else? Like, you can end up with a whole room possibly of smiling people. And we've got younger people now coming into this that are like, what's going on? We want to better understand. We love the things with the flashy lights, but why is it flashing? And why am I hearing this? And why is this happening? It's time for us as the older generation to start imparting that wisdom and sharing that and raising up the next generation. Like, Nick's got his daughter's 23, and she's involved in the community. And then I've got my 8-year-old, and she's the next generation after that. And I see at Paracons and events, and people are bringing their younger children with them and trying to share it with them, which I think is amazing, because even little kids don't understand, and they are like, why am I hearing, or why am I seeing? And there's parents that go, I don't know, but guess what? There's this event going on. Maybe we can find somebody that does, that can help.
Right.
And I applaud those parents. And that's the one thing that's amazing about the community too, is that, like, people can come to these events, and we're like, you know what? Hey, we can help you. We can help you figure this out. Hey, here's my card. Here's my number. And we can mentor these children, or these younger adults, or these even older adults who are just now starting to say, okay, I need to start facing this. There's a reason why this won't stop. The community's huge, and when you feel like an oddball for a huge part of your life, and you're finally able to, you feel like you fit in, I think that's huge.
I have to say, I know exactly or as close as exactly how you feel, because I've really embraced the paranormal field the past few years, and it's like you just have, like I personally have this sense like, oh, I belong, like I feel like a part. And so, I really get what you're saying. And it is right, for to be a mentor, to be a good example, it's not just about the flashing lights and, who gets the best evidence. It's about who you are at the end of the day, and how do you get that evidence, and how do you, conduct yourself, and that is how it is, that's at the end, that's the end game, is it if you can, kind of look at yourself in the mirror knowing that you stood true to your truth and represented the field good. That's
Yeah.
what it's about. I'm so excited that I got to talk to you, and I hope you'll join us again. And tell Nick I said hello. I think we're friends on Facebook, but tell him I said hello. And then I hope that y'all are come down this way, or we come up there and can do some collabs. And there's plenty out here in New Orleans, believe me, to investigate. We're just like the Mecca, as I always say. So what, are you going to another Paracon? I know y'all are taking some time off, but after that?
We were supposed to be at FCI Con this weekend, but family first, and
Right.
Nick's twin actually just graduated high school, so we're gonna go celebrate their high school graduation this weekend. And then the next big thing that we have, event-wise, will be the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. Nick's actually going to be a speaker there, and we're going to have some tables set up. I'm thoroughly geeked out about this, because who doesn't love Gettysburg? I'm a history nerd to the core.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that right there is just huge. We're going to have our team with us, and it's going to be like a family atmosphere, and getting to see, all of our friends that we only get to see, a few times. But there's going to be a few smaller collabs here and there along the way. August, we've got ISS Con, and then we've got MadCon. And there's some other stuff, I'm sure, that's in between that I might be forgetting. But yeah, our next big thing will be the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. And thank you for saying you want to collab, because we're all for that.
Yeah.
So now that you've thrown that out there, I might have to be like, hey babe, guess what?
Yeah, y'all come on down. It's, we'll treat y'all right. And like I said, we got plenty of stuff to do here. And I can't wait to hear y'all's announcement about the big thing that you were talking about that's coming up. That's going to be great, I'm sure. And, it just really was an honor to speak with you. And just can't wait to see what else is going to be going on with Brie. So.
Oh,
there
well,
you
thank
go.
you so much for having me on. It was such a pleasure getting to speak with you finally, too.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And be sure you can follow Brie Hollingshead. She is on Facebook, IG, TikTok, all the socials. And, give her a like, a shout out, share, all the above. And you know what? I will see all of you next week. Be sure to like and subscribe the channel. Thank you. Have a good night.